lessons. If you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. Don't sleep any less, just be faster. He goes, hey, I don't have time. I said, why don't you even that? Just be faster. The humorous way. They do whatever it takes. And those who get you there don't get you out of there. Okay. Hire slow, fire fast. Hard to do. Really hard to do, particularly for first-time entrepreneurs. Gotta learn it. And hopefully you'll have some people or experience will be advisors, mentors who can help you with that. I just put down what it means. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. I always believe that the best way to sound extemporaneous, relaxed, casual, funny, prepare to be extemporaneous, relaxed, casual, and funny. Most of the people who go, wow, really delivered something off the cuff. Very unusual that they hadn't thought it off. Thinking. Again, this is just a humorous way of saying do whatever it takes. But, you know, sleep is important. Getting a good night's sleep is important. And those who get you there won't get you out of there. People who get you in trouble, no amount of remedial training to make the thing. And sometimes you need new skills to bump to the next level. And so you have to be aware of the fact that growth requires new people, new guiding principles, new perspectives, and a real willingness to evolve. And sometimes the founders themselves have to realize, I'm not the right person for this, which is what happened at Lifertech. They brought in Alex to become the CEO because he was the right person. And those three technical geniuses realized that, and that's not common because ego gets in the way. I'm so smart, I can do anything, right? That's what the guy you shave every morning says. You don't shave. So that's a problem one has to really guard against. The pizza is here.
The pizza, this is just the water.
Right, so
Someone's very hungry.
not me. No, kids get hungry. Plus me, we make them up early on a Saturday morning, come to this class and they don't know they're hungry. Pardon?
Us old guys get hungry too.
Yes. So what we're going to talk about is product development. Talk a little bit more about the MVP. We talked about the MVP last time, but we'll talk about it from a fresh perspective. And then how to go to market. What is go to market? Right, fair enough. So product development is a completely different set of challenges in deep tech versus, let's say, software or app development. And you're all deep tech folks. So this R&D cycles are long. You said you've been in it. Your thing has been going on since 2019. Long R&D cycles. Lots of capital needed compared to writing an app for the iPhone or some software product. I mean, think about it. Even Dropbox, which is a big success story. Drew Houston, remember we talked about it last time? He prepared a 3-minute video as his MVP. And he only built the product after people said, yeah, we want to buy that.
Of those 9, if you had to pick the one that's the biggest hurdle in your opinion, and I forced you to pick,
Forcing you to pick.
which one would you say?
Ah,
I have an opinion, but I don't have the same. I don't have anywhere near
give me
the.
your opinion. Please.
Probably 9 investor skeptic because that's how you get off this.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it there because I think if you do some of the other things right, investor skepticism can feel very comfortably. I think one of the biggest problems most startups have is number 6, scaling. Number 4 is also big. Talent.
Would you say of the startups, and I mean I'm sure somebody's done a study on this, if those are the phases and you looked at okay, where they failed, would you say, I guess you would probably say 6 is where it went, oh, we had it, and then it just, you couldn't get past.
Yeah, yeah. And 3 also. They didn't get it to do what they thought it could do when they were doing their PhD program. And when they came to real life, didn't do exactly. We'll do a case study. This is a company that I'm quite involved in. It did very well at Rice in 2018. It's the robot that climbs the outside of skyscrapers and cleans it. We talked a little bit about it time ago. They have been able to overcome number 3, but the reason that it still aren't commercial is number 3. It's taken them 6 years.
The low risk, but the literally high impact if it falls.
Pun intended. So yes, and investor skepticism is important, but with a solid business plan, long-term competitive edge, it's not that different. I mean, again, I cycle back to either WC or Hydrotech. Hydrotech's raised 20 million because they had a solid business plan. The value proposition was very clear. Their business model canvas was very clear. Who are their customers? What are their channels of distribution? What is their revenue? What is their cost? What's the capital needed to support? All of those was clearly identified. And every round was oversubscribed. In a difficult market, I mean, it's the last 2-3 years haven't been easy to raise funds. So, number 8 is extremely important. You will overcome number 9 very comfortably if number 8 is solid. You've got patents, you've got real solid intellectual property that's protected, you've got freedom to operate in the areas where you don't have patents. 9 gets much easier.
Would that be, my question, I guess, is your investors see that you are protected? I mean, it's kind of like seeing if, somebody's, okay, I'm not going to mess with that guy. Is that kind of the logic there?
Yeah, they believe that this long-term competitive edge is based on 3 things. We'll talk about it when we get to the legal lecture, which is 3 lectures from now. One is patents to protect the actual technology, that the invention, trade secrets, because some of the stuff, like why doesn't Coca-Cola ever patent its formula? Because the minute it does, you'll have Coca-Cola coming out of China and Vietnam and every place up the wazoo, because the formula is known. So it's a trade secret, a closely guarded trade secret. And there's a lot of law about there's a trade secret law that protects you if somebody were to leave your company with your trade secret and then try to start a competitor. You are protected legally. You don't always have to just have a patent. And then the third piece of this moat that you're building, basically what you do is you build a moat. You're not building a wall. That's the visual metaphor. You're building a moat to protect your technology. And the third piece, patents, trade secrets, is processes. You have your own proprietary processes to build whatever you're building, or how does the liquid flow over the wafer. These processes are also private. So these are the 3 elements on the moat that you build to protect your capital. So all of these are part of product development, and in deep tech, you do have challenges because of capital requirements and the long R&D cycles.
So I have a question about if we have like technological patent on our process itself, but the most of the time we are struggling when we are actually coming out with the numbers. So now we have technological patent, we are competing with the existing process. But for our case, steam cracking, which is in the practice for more than like 50-60 years, they have very strong calculations of numbers. So when we are like coming up with our calculation, the cost of manufacturing and everything, the first question they ask is, it is too good to be true. You cannot simply do it.
Yes.
Now, how do we go about that?
Well, sometimes you might have, the answer might be yes, it is, but it is true. But you have to validate it. You have to demonstrate it. I mean, I'll give you a good example of a completely different technology, but it's in pharma, biopharma. I just wrote a very large check to invest in a company called Unix. I mean, 7-figure check. And my colleagues all wrote that. We put in individually, 10 of us put in over 10 million. And when we went and did the due diligence, they have come up with a way of curing some incurable diseases, orphan diseases. You've all heard of Lou Gehrig's disease. It affects 1 in 11,000 people. So there's about 32,000 people afflicted with ALS in the US. This is another orphan disease similar to Lou Gehrig's disease called amyloidosis. They've come up with a way of curing it. It kills. 35,000 people are afflicted with it and it kills. And there is a reimbursement code that exists, which is $500,000 per dose. So you can start curing 35,000 patients multiplied by $500,000. What's the revenue stream? They're proving. They've done 20 some patients. The FDA wants 40. They've done 25 odd patients, and every one of them is cured. And the only existing technologies today are poisons, injections that are essentially a cocktail of poisons, like chemo, to go kill this disease. But in the process of killing the disease, they kill the patient. You know, the surgery was successful, but the patient died, right? That's the old joke. So my question to them, I spent 3 days in their facilities. This sounds too good to be true. And they eventually convinced me it is true by showing patient data, patient by patient by patient. They didn't give the name, but that's proprietary. This patient number 1, this is what they had. These were the disease markers. This is when we gave them the injection, the infusion. Look at the disease markers. Patient number 2, patient. So if you can produce that kind of data, even a skeptic like me got conquered. And I went there really skeptical. Nobody can hear me?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay,
Now do this, please go back.
okay. Got it.
Yeah.
So pizza has arrived. Is this a logical break point?
We can take a quick one.
Logical break.
Just come and sit down so that we can get started back again. Okay? All right, so we're gonna take a break. But take a look at the spread that is there so that you can pick the right one for you. Okay?
Once you get it, you can't go back.
So we're gonna take a quick break. Yeah? You want any of the attendees to chime in?
Anytime.
No, there was.
He's looking for coffee.
Me too. Get my coffee, bring me one, please. Yeah, real quick. We'll wait till we come back.
Yeah, the only place is student union downstairs is Starbucks. No.
Next bill.
Student center is south. Student center. Student center south. Go down. You should be able to- How are you? Glad you are able to make it.
Some accurately, some not exactly. It is the best method.
Rakesh, was this?
Yes, this has been really useful. One question that we have been discussing is on our way in moving towards identifying our business model. What if our competitors are the only customers? And I would like to emphasize on this word only. What if this is the case? How we decipher
Your
our
customer is your competitor?
Yes, they are our competitors are the only customers, and that's why I'm emphasizing the word only, because athlete business are predominantly distributed into two broad categories. The technologists, the producers. Producers, in consultation with the technologists, use the technology to present the big market player who sells this technology, R4, who leads 80-90% of this athlete business all over the world. Technique, Lummus, KBR, and Linde. Most of them are based in US. I guess Linde is based in Germany.
Technip is French.
French. What we got. So these are the four main technologists who sell this technology.
Ask questions.
And they are the only ones who probably take our technology and sell it to some other XYZ name. This new technology, would you like to try it?
Oh, you write down your
Producers.
Yes. You're thinking.
Because we cannot build the plant ourselves.
Rather than.
So that's a different thing.
Idea.
Well, you just have got to make your competitor your partner. That's the challenge.
That's a challenge.
And if the data is compelling,
It's compelling.
then there's no reason why they shouldn't consider you. In most likely then, I mean, I think this is good news because they'll be your acquirer. So you. And will say, I don't want the other three to have it. I'll acquire them. Because if you're out there selling to everybody, then all their competitors are getting the same advantage.
Yeah.
But what you've got to get is you've got to get them bidding like in a beauty contest, right? You got to create a beauty contest.
You can
And
validate.
you've got to be the prettiest girl on the block.
It said these are the things that you're.
And in context of the question that Hagash has
Is this important?
about this thing,
So it is.
we have
way
proof of
that
concept
if
in
you
the lab scale.
It becomes.
People sometimes become really
Practicing ahead of time.
the sentence that we use to be true.
Yes.
I think we have.
I know.
The customer.
Yeah, I just want
Go ahead. I
Yeah,
do.
exactly.
Yes.
The thing is, we do not
Big
have
trade.
only validated performance with our lab scale work, we also have validated performance.
I thought we need
Literature
to
source.
get your customer,
So
but I.
it's
know
not that
that-
Advising Dr. Father, right? He's your advisor.
He's not our advisor. Our advisor is Dr. Memory Balaji, the chemical engineering part. Dr. Rasa is related with UH generation. So he's our mentor in tailoring the slides.
What about athletes?
Yeah. I know, the business.
Ravi, you switched the main location to mute.
We hear you, Dr. Lopez.
You switched your site to mute. Maybe that was intentional because you don't want to share pizza with us.
Exactly.
But muting doesn't help. Just share the smell for now rather than the voice. So, yeah.
Don't see, we hear you.
I was a scout and a tanker. Tanker would be.
I'm not sure where Ram Karnati is. You are not recording these, right, Ravi?
Mm.
I am recording them and then we'll make them available on YouTube once we're done with the series. There's a lot of work, transcribed.
Amazing, amazing in yours.
Lot of.
I know your cameras are.
Yeah, I'll talk to you.
Please. They make the company's nanograph.
I think I've heard of it.
They're very, yeah, they're on a tear.
Paul, I'm a Thai member from Houston, Texas.
They got a valuation of 200 million.
Got it, Ram. Thank you.
Thank you.
Army.
Sorry for you. That's curious. There's a chance I might have some of the guys.
Right, I will go mute while we're, but it looks like. Right here. Council.
I said, my wife is like.
Would be a good idea. Share a little, by global.
All right, cool.
Great.
Summit.
Yes,
Are you? Besides from your family website.
What's the sequestration?
$20. So, $20.
You're not carbonated. Cool.
And get some pizza.
You brought your own yogurt.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, thank Dr. Radha. I had nothing to do with the food.
Thank you.
If everybody has picked up their pictures, let's get started.
Yes, which were everyone, actually, yes. But that's why. Correct.
Something else.
But the thing that, I think that was a good question, because I think if you have some of the basics solid, The triple is usually scaling. That's the biggest challenge, if you've got the other things right. I mean, those are the fundamental essentials. But this is a variable that we all can get in trouble. Okay, we're live.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got Sushma waiting to.
Yeah. As soon as she picks up hers, we'll be ready.
Everybody go get your pizzas if you're gonna have seconds.
Yeah.
And slice, go get one before. There's a lot of pizza there, guys. Let's get some seconds.
I will. I will.
Sammy, you? Second.
I will. I'll let them get theirs first.
Well, it's more than enough.
I know.
Army.
But we have water over here too and some drink.
Waiting for my box. Yeah, you mentioned it. Yes, patent from NASA. Yeah.
Choices. But there's chicken.
Your challenge is going to be to articulate, to present your product, your market, your
The cheese and the.
in a way like lighter. That video that we did on the very first lecture, the video. So.
To the Canvas link, so I was doing the quiz yesterday and stuff.
There is, Ravi, the lighter tech video is also on Canvas.
The.
There's a link to it.
Has the link to the library tech.
You have the first lecture,
From time
Yeah,
to
there's a
time.
before and after. They were before they got coached and what they ended up presenting at Rice.
And these by these early today.
That video is the one that I would suggest if you want to keep relearning, go back and watch that. To see how it's more than just business plan was presented. It was more than just the facts. It was how they told the story. We're going to have a section on storytelling. That's the second last episode like this series. Storytelling is as important as any one of the other factual pieces that you will. Could be very compelling, but if you tell it in a dull and uninteresting way, people will lose interest. Somebody's hungry. Rajesh. Thank you. I like that.
Let him eat, that's.
Huh? I know, somebody's hungry. Impressed, and he's the skinniest of everybody.
See?
Okay, so moving on, the summary from this chart is that product development in deep tech is not just about building something, it's about surviving long-term uncertainty, hiccups, and scaling science to industry. Because you all are in deep tech research projects, and how do you take that and make it something that the world wants, which you do with your customer interviews and your value prop and all of those things. But then the challenges along the way are greater than if you were Dropbox and Drew Houston, who created a 3-minute video and showed it to potential customers and they bought. So long R&D cycles, we'll go over all 9 of them one by one. The biggest risk is you run out of money. And one of the things that's missing in our university system in this country versus Germany is government grants. Kumi got big government grants, and so he's going to be, fat, dumb, and happy, though he's a skinny guy, for a long time, because the government is supporting and investing in his project. But the rest of you are going to have to look for private capital, or SBIR grants, but those have been heavily slashed. Most universities are suffering now, starting with Harvard and MIT and all the government grants are being slashed. So I think that's where we are at a bit of a disadvantage versus at the academia level versus a high-tech country like Germany. Of course, we are the best country in the world for private capital raising. There is nobody that like the United States for raising private capital. But to be able to raise private capital, you've got to get to a point where you validate at least the fundamental business model. Back to business model. High capital requirements, we all know that. Costs are front loaded, sometimes in the millions. You talked about needing a couple million to just validate the technology. And angels and VCs want some validation before they will write checks. Technical uncertainty, we all know that. All R&D projects have a technical uncertainty. We'll do a case study on the window washing robot, how that happened. Here's something that most people underestimate: talent scarcity. You require a lot of highly specialized technical people, but once you get past that, you're going to need multidisciplinary skills, financial skills, leadership skills, communication skills, which a lot of very smart technical people may have struggles with. Who thinks they are very comfortable communicating in front of investors? And you're an old guy. I am. So, well, let me tell you, you may think you're not good, but everyone can get to be good. Everyone. I don't care how introspective you are, how introverted you are, you can become a good presenter. Remember the Ashokism? If you fail to prepare, prepare to fail. The more you prepare, the better you'll be, the less nervous you get. I mean, how many of you get real butterflies when you go to present to a crowd? It should be everybody. It's the number one fear. Fear of death is number 7. The number one fear for humanity, for people, is fear of public speaking. Regulatory barriers. This is, for deep tech, very important. You have all kinds of regulations. If you're in biotech, aerospace, if you're in med tech, even the window cleaning company had regulatory barriers. You would say, wait a minute, why is somebody safety regulations from the municipalities? And they are tough. This to me is, when I was asked the question, what to me is the most, this one, if those other 5 have been taken care of, this is the one that trips up most companies. Being able to scale a great concept in the lab to a product you can sell. Reliability, durability, field maintenance, quality, having an infrastructure to support it is all part of why scaling from lab to market is. Customer adoption, we talked about 9 out of 10 companies failed. Deep tech often demands behavioral change. Again, lighter tech's a great example. You've got to get rid of those diamond tipped saws that cut your wafers and go to lasers, a completely different supply chain within the semiconductor fabrication facility. So this is tougher than many people think. Just because you think you have the best mousetrap doesn't mean, people will buy that mousetrap. The world does not need a path to your door to buy it anymore. I mean, that was what Adam Smith said back in 1760 something. If you build the best mousetrap, the world would be the path to your door to buy it. That doesn't exist anymore. And technology, patents, licensing, protecting. If you've got this is more deep tech than it is process-oriented products like software, where it's very difficult to patent anything. So like I said, there's 3 building blocks to IP protection. You've got patents, which are mostly related to inventions. And one of the things that most young founders confuse and conflate is ideas versus inventions. You can protect inventions, but you can never protect an idea. So ideas get better when they cross-pollinate with other ideas. So we shouldn't just say, oh, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing because I'm afraid you'll steal it. And finally, investor skepticism. CapEx requirements for deep tech is usually high. So investors say, need 50 million to put a navigation facility over there around the corner. Whereas I could just write a check for 2 million to that software company. Okay, the risk may be higher, but I'll get my return sooner. So you have to be able to translate the success possibilities of your milestones to investors to be able to get them to write the big checks. Any thoughts? So summary, keep that cycle going. Empathize, meaning figure out what the problem is, define the problem, the idea to solve the problem, build the prototype, test it, learn from it, start all over again. Iterate. So we've talked about this. Mitigate challenges. You develop in chunks, clearly identified milestones. Collaborate. I mean, like you're collaborating with
Debbie.
Slavic previously.
Sabic, huge company, division of Saudi Aramco. You're mitigating your risk by having them pick up some of the risk. We looked at some examples from last lecture about the oil drilling company that went with BP, and then BP picked them up and then took them elsewhere. So if you can collaborate with major industry partners, you mitigate your risk. Try to raise grants. I know this is getting more difficult, but grants are good. And this is one of the things I was talking to Dr. Radha about is from an academic environment, the big handicap for most universities in the US is access to government grants versus, like I said, in Germany or any of the Scandinavian countries, even France. So next, we'll talk a little bit about the minimum viable product. We talked already about it. But here is what we talk about. Three is a minimum viable product that tests your concept, demonstrates functionality, and is not complete, and usually is in the lab. Oops, there we go. Okay. Then the MVP. And then the pilot. This is when you do real world testing. So these could be the same, like with the window cleaning, MVP and pilot are the same. Because you want far more of the M. The M is not enough to be able to test and pilot. So the prototype worked 6 years ago. And it's taken 6 years to get to MVP/pilot. We talked about this a lot, but this is the product, this is the item that allows you to correct, like for your batteries. Do you think you're at a MVP yet? Are you at a minimum viable product for your cathode? Will it work? So if Samsung said, I'm going to put it in my cell, it'll work.
Send 1 kg.
Okay. 1 kg, that enough? Okay. Make sense to you guys? Once again, minimum still requires working hardware and validation of the proof of concept. Are you guys at an MVP?
We already actually the research for customer discovery and is still waiting for the validation.
But do you have the device built?
Device built, yeah, the prototype is already.
And it works?
So the 3D printed prototype It does, but it broke. Someone broke
But
it
not-
at one of our.
Well, it's
So
not
it's
MVP,
still
it's the
longevity,
prototype.
yeah.
They use it very, like aggressively, but I'm pretty sure it was still gonna be working.
But every
But,
customer
yeah.
is gonna use it
They just-
aggressively.
Yeah, that was the point.
I mean, these phones are not built to be thrown on the ground, but they get thrown on the ground, right? And they don't break anymore.
It's the injection.
The old phones, remember when the iPhone came out in 2005? You just dropped it and it broke. It was just glass. So that was probably an MVP when the first iPhone came out. How about you all guys? Do you have an MVP?
We have developed our coding part. But I don't think we have a MVP.
How, lab prototype?
We validated
Yeah, the prototype is there, but it's not still a product.
Mm-hmm. So the whole concept of MVP is, what is the minimum you can build? The minimum, that's so that you can learn, test, and be taken seriously. Think, oh, wait a minute, that's something that could help us. So it's a combination of what's the least you can do for the maximum credibility. And prototypes can cost. So one of the problems is, can you get to MVP or get to a real pilot product without running out of cash? And in deep tech validation, like you all have had lots of issues with validation, right?
We have the validation. So for the minimum viable product, technically we do have the minimum viable product. Since we have demonstrated the proof of concept on lab scale, use that demonstration to validate from the data already published in the literature sources independently in the combustion chemistry. And we have used that data to scale up the process through mathematical modeling. So we have a lot on our plate to show.
Where's Kui? We're still hunting for coffee.
Oh, your coffee doesn't come.
No, he is. Pardon?
Even to student center south, Starbucks.
It's too far.
No, it's just a.
10 minutes walk from here.
Sushma, have you got a MVP going?
So we have we are doing testing currently, testing the characteristics of the prototype. Not exactly the complete prototype, but
It's still lab prototype. Okay. But that's okay. I mean, that's the normal progress. And the fact that you're still in the university doing it. Remember Ligrotech, they said those three guys, those three scientific geniuses had 5 years of not having to worry about making payroll and develop the technology to the point. Plus they got the €1.5 million German government grant. So that by the time they brought on Alex, they were at almost prototype stage. Not yet MVP, but prototype. Which for a $2.5 million machine is a lot of cash, a lot of capital. Which was all funded by the government and the university. So where you are is not bad. You're still in college, still haven't finished your PhD. By the time you finish, you will, how many more years for you to finish?
1.5 years.
And will you have MVP by then?
Yeah.
Will you have a pilot? A demonstrable product?
That's the goal.
That's the, okay, good. No, keep the goal intact. Customer expectations for an MVP. And that is a challenge because you're always more optimistic and hopeful than what your product can or is doing. You always tend to look at your own work with rose-colored glasses. Like, I think you guys might be a little bit looking at it with rose-colored glasses. Because the battery world is really a challenge. Trust me. I've been with Nanograph now since 2013. It's now 12 years. Finally getting traction. Regulatory hurdles.
Energizer is here.
Thank you so much. Lifesaver. Thank you. Lifesaver. So we were talking MVP. Are you guys at MVP stage?
We have a pilot scale tool.
So
So
you're at lab prototypes.
lab prototype, but we can make the product as it is.
You mean
We can make the tape as it is, but not at a full scale manufacturing capacity.
okay, so you have a product that you can ship to customers
Right,
and that they will pay for
right. Yeah.
already?
But not like the length that we want to be at.
And how long do you want to be at?
We want to be at 10 times the capacity that we're at right now.
Okay.
Scale.
We're scaling. Yeah, just
Yeah, well, you're still not at pilot level, right? You're not ready to go and do pilot projects with customers. You're still at
We're doing
MVP.
pilot projects.
You're doing pilot projects,
So now, making up for a big coil, a big magnet.
which they will use in their day-to-day operations.
No, just for testing.
Then they're not yet pilot.
Okay, sure.
Pilot is when they're willing to take your product and use it in day-to-day operations under controlled circumstances. Versus MVP, which is where I think you're right. Where you're able to demonstrate the characteristics of the product, all of its attributes, the minimum requirement to make it viable for them to say, okay, now build it and ship me some.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So, just a clarification question. The manufacturing capability is limiting them supplying products in large quantities where somebody can actually test it, other than in a sample way. So they are, correct me if I'm wrong, you're at a point where you're trying to demonstrate that you can make long lengths of the wire.
Right.
That is where you are.
I mean, you can either test out samples in small lengths, or you can make a coil with longer lengths, but you won't be actually using that in your day-to-day operations. Right.
So it'll be a lot longer that they need in order to really test it out in day-to-day.
So do you have to then move to a different manufacturing facility?
We don't build it.
You have to move to a different manufacturing facility?
Yeah, we're getting real estate right now for flex space for doing that.
Are you partnering with anyone for that, or is it all your own government grant funding?
Oh, no, that's our. I mean, yeah, government grant money won't be used for that. We have the capacity for that. So.
Interesting. I want to see your business plan when you write it. All right, and then you have this whole business about, as you start to go from idea towards impact, you need multidisciplinary skills. You need sales, you need finance, you need business, not just scientists and engineers. And we will have a whole section on team building later on. That's the time when Jeff Smizek comes to be a guest lecturer. I mean, he ran a company of 100,000 people. And yeah, he's also a really nice guy.
I do think it's true.
So you also need people who can communicate. So you've got to find people who can tell the story in a believable fashion.
In the case of Microsoft, you had Alex playing multiple hats. Finance, marketing, salesman, business lead, all of those, right?
Yeah, but that's all usually one guy. Usually at the early stage, we had the 3 scientists and him.
So that is a good working model.
That's a great working model. Because if you're not that business lead, that sort of, charismatic storyteller, go find one. Make them a co-founder. Because I tell you that's important. Then there's the valley of death. Because the gap between a minimum viable product and being able to sell to customers is a big one. That's why I told you, scale up from lab prototype to commercial is probably.
I was asking myself, why do I keep looking back there when it's the same thing right there? It's something I haven't.
That's the same thing everywhere. Over there too.
Can't get out of that,
Over there too. Behind me. Yeah.
paranoia.
All right. So when you build an MVP, you've also got to be clear about how this can be made into a full-scale production product. Not just, hey, I can only build these because it's 10,000 parts that has to be hand glued in the lab. Then you don't have an MVP, even though it may demonstrate the viable characteristics. So the same thing that you are facing the challenge of how do you build this length, and you have to go elsewhere to do it, right? Has that been a challenge, scaling up the?
I mean, the pilot scale machine and then the manufacturing machines is the same machine, just a little bit larger. So technologically, it's not any different. But I guess maybe putting in a new facility, right, getting the optimal power for it, all that.
Where is this facility?
We don't know.
Come see it.
South Houston somewhere.
I'll have to come see it once it's up and running
Yeah, we're still working on it.
and see the stuff being produced.
Yeah, you can come to the lab anytime. So
I would love to. Yeah. So here's the challenges of building this minimum viable product. We spent a lot of time on it in the last 2 lectures. But it's important because that's your launch pad to commercial success. Without an MVP, you don't have a launching pad for commercial success. And as I say, keep coming back to finding non-dilutive funding. If you can get it from SBIR, from government, from university, from subsidies, from strategic partnerships. If a SABIC is willing to write you a check, why not? And they do write checks. One of my other companies has received over 2.5 million from SABIC for developing polyester-coated glass fibers. Why not? So look for non-dilutive funding. Nanograph, the battery company, I think in the 12 years has gotten over 100 million from government, non-dilutive. Certainly over 50 million.
I may have missed, what's non-diluted?
It doesn't affect your cap table. You're not giving up shares.
I think
You're not giving up equity. You're not diluting the founder's shares. So it's just a grant.
here's some money, go.
Give some money, go save the world.
Right, that's- okay.
And in the case of the US Army, the money that's come for batteries, as you know, you carry those big packs, told me, it's for their soldiers. So it's for something real. But they don't say, they're not saying, I want 20% of the company. Just like we did, we took 10% of Intel as a government. We say we're not communist. We took 10, well, the government is supposed to support industry, not take equity shares.
Right.
But anyway, I'm a free market capitalist. So the summary is up there. MVP is all about credible de-risking your product, your technology, your IP, without over-investing too early. As much as possible, if you can do with university grants, government grants, strategic partnership grants, that's the way. So you go from idea to prototype to MVP to pilot to finally penetration into the market. That's the sequence. And it would seem that most of you here are either at prototype or MVP stage. Your MVP, your prototype, yeah, close. Here you are, prototype, MVP.
I would dare to say MVP.
MVP. MVP, no prototype. Then prototype. How about you all? Prototype. Prototype. Okay. Well, but I hope these last 4 lectures have sort of given you a sense of the sequence of if you really are serious about making this into game-changing companies, there is a process you have to go through. It doesn't happen magically. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak didn't happen to them magically. They went through all of this and they got hit, and they got knocked down and got up. And now they have a $3 trillion company.
I can just add to what Mr. Ashok Rao is saying. Competing and then just making a pitch. Many of these things we have not gone through completely. You got a pitch and you're trying to convince somebody. But going further down to convince somebody to part with some money, it is a huge gap. And you need to have many of these elements reasonably saucered and blown before anybody would listen to you seriously. They're happy to listen to you, but not for serious.
Thought through, written down, articulated, and validated. The first three worked in 1998 to 2000 when you could raise money, the dot-com bubble with a 3-page PowerPoint. Those days are over.
Yes.
You need those 4 things. Validation being the most important part at the end. But validation is part of the storytelling, part of the business plan. See, written down, thought through, written down, told art in an articulate fashion, and validated. Again, for you, for November 15th, you want to win the trip to Bangalore, no, to Jaipur. All right. So, talked all about it. And the other thing as founders, and we'll get into this much more next week, you can never raise too much money. You think, okay, I need $2 million to get to the next level. I don't want to go more because I'll get diluted. Money's there, take it. Because it always costs more and it always takes longer. Yeah.
There's this kind of idea that floats around where no matter how much money you raise, it's always going to end up being 20% dilution. Is that it's always going to economize 20%, like
No.
roughly?
No.
No.
It could be 50, it could be 10, depends on where you are, depends on how much you're looking for. I mentioned this first lecture, but one of my favorite comments is a professor of mine in London said to us in the class when he was talking about balance sheets and accounting and finance, that remember, gentlemen, or English fellow, remember, gentlemen, 50% of something is a lot better than 100% of bugger all. So you can never raise too much, and 20% is a fake. It all depends on what check are they willing to write and how much do you want it, do you need it? And one of the good things, and I think Alex talked about it last time, is that they raised more money than they thought because they listened to me. And they took $5.5 million in the first round instead of the 3 that they said they would pay in the presentation also. They got diluted more than 20%. They got diluted by 40%. But their share, their 60% of what's left is a lot higher today than they had 80% of. You get over this. Same thing, 100% of bugger all is not a lot. So raise enough money. Mostly you get it from the 3 F's. Anybody remember who the 3 F's are?
Friend, family, and fools.
Got it. The head of the class. And we're just visualizing this for you. There's a thing behind. But this is the important part. You build, you measure, you learn, you iterate, you keep going around, which is what we've done for 6 years with the robotics company. Built, tested, measured, learned lots of lessons. Luckily, none of them's fallen off the build. One came close.
So you're still not run out of cash.
No. We're going to do a deep dive case study on them next week. Because I think they're a great example of being very incredible technology. Very, they've husbanded their cash very well. And they've learned and iterated and learned and iterated. I mean, what this really is nobody's ever done before on planet Earth. Every window today is cleaned by humans hanging from ropes. Bucket, a pail, a squeegee, and a mop. Oh, there we go. So it originated from high school, university research. I say, like you all, several prototypes. We started with one suction cup. Now there are two. You can see that's the real robot on a building. See that? Defying gravity. It's got two suction cups. You can see vaguely the one on top. Started with one. They started with 3 wheels, went to 4, and went to 6. Anyone want to know why they went to 6? All right, climbing up, right? And you've got an obstruction. The device knows to retract the wheels to go over there's obstruction. If you've got 4 wheels, what's going to happen? So these next 4 wheels are hanging on. Then it regrips. The second 2 wheels come, lift up. Now you got wheels here and here holding on. The suction's working. And then the final set of wheels.
You always
So then learned.
you always got 60% contact patch.
Right. Just the wheels. The only thing that touches the glass are the wheels. Everything else is about that far away.
Cleaning the glass.
Cleaning the glass is bright. We'll see a detailed video next year, the next lecture. Fascinating. I mean, even though they're the slowest to market, they're my favorite couple. 6 years we've been at it. Learned a lot. Went from the 1 cup to 2 cups, cup redesign. Basically, what they've done is they have reinvented Bernoulli's principle. Just 150 years, Bernoulli's law. They have rejiggered it. One guy. And so a lot of back and forth, a lot of customer validation, customer interviews with building management companies, owners of large skyscrapers, airport facilities, hotel companies, learning what you need. For instance, how do you clean dirt, which is different than rain stains. So they came up with this brush, which is 4-sided. And if it comes to a hard dirt state, it flips over to a more abrasive surface. And you'll see all that. All of which was learned through trial and error. Lots of error, by the way. And companies are now paying for pilots. ITC, the India Tobacco Corporation, which is really not about tobacco, it's about hotels, are paying for them to fly out to their facilities and clean buildings. And paying per square foot of cleaning as a validation.
How much is 1 unit?
$30,000. Pardon? It replaces 7 humans.
Yeah, that's
Payback is 4 months. And then you have it forever. Payback in the Middle East is 4 months. In India, maybe 8 months.
Yeah, a little dustier, yeah.
Pardon?
A little bit more of a challenge in India.
Well, people are cheaper. And they don't buy liability insurance on those people. If they fall, they fall. Okay, get another guy. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's kind of bad. Next. And finally, these guys, I mean, we're finally to the point making our first sale. 6 years in the making. They still have $1 million in the bank.
It's an interesting story. So what convinced you that you need to put money into that company?
The young man.
I'm sorry?
The young man, the inventor.
The founder.
The founder, inventor. Genius, coachable, brilliant in his ability to figure things out. I mean, we didn't think it'd take 6 years. And the value prop is huge. You got 1 trillion square feet of glass globally. 1 trillion square feet of glass that's cleaned by human hands. So the market is huge. The value prop is in 4 months, you get paid back. You don't have the risk of people falling off of buildings, gondolas breaking. You've seen on the news of this happening quite often. You have better cleaning. So actually matching how humans clean was the toughest challenge. defying gravity was easy. But humans intuitively know, I'm gonna squeegee this harder, or I'm gonna squeegee it lighter based on what the feedback they're getting. How do you teach a machine to do that? That was part of the challenge. With no cameras, because then you're invading people's privacy by looking at privacy. All sensors. Where I put a camera, that would have been easy. But whoever pays for easy, right? So very interesting. I'm gonna pick up the pace here. Okay, this is a workshop for you guys if you're interested. Select the key hypothesis from your venture. See, actually what I'd love to see, forget this, is your MVP description in the homework set. What is your MVP? What are your challenges? And what's the next step? Okay? Yes, here it is. This is it. This is what I would love for you to send me. One page. What is the value prop you're testing? What is the MVP? Is it a device? Is it whatever you guys are doing? Is it data? Is it an anode or cathode? What is it? And then the timeline and where do you think you're going and what are the success metrics? Well, lecture 6, please. Next time we need to grade. We need to make sure this is a graded course. Then they'll be more serious about their homework. All that. And then go to market. For a deep tech startup, I'm going to jump through it because we're running out of time. You got to understand the landscape. We've talked about it. And then you got to figure out what are your channels. Understand the market. So you really, again, look, the interviews, the customer feedback, all of that. What's the size of the market? Now we get into numbers. And you've heard of TAM, SAM, right? Abbreviations, total addressable market, serviceable available market, and then serviceable attainable. These are the 3 pieces. And we can look at a case study like the batteries. The total market is 150 billion globally. EVs in North America is 40 billion. And what do you think? You get 1% in 5 years. That's your SOM. So you got to understand your market. So I want you all to think about your market because it needs to be in your pitch deck. Remember Lightertech, they had clear analysis of this, the total number of markets, total number, dollars and machines that are being sold every year. This is how much can be replaced. And this is how much we can go get. We're not going to go get anybody in China because that's dangerous. Reverse engineering. We are going to try Europe first. They were going to go to the US, but now with the 50% tariffs, they've said, no, pivot to Asia. Korea, Taiwan, those markets. US was supposed to be number 2, but now it's not number 2. But then we'll talk about pivoting also in one of our later lectures. You have to be nimble enough to pivot when you realize if you're running up against impenetrable barriers that you didn't have before, or you hadn't seen. So here we go. Demonstrated in a different way. The total market for batteries is 150 billion. You think you can get 500 million, 1% share of the addressable market. Segment. This is also important. You can't go for the entire market. So in your case, you have to decide where you're going and who you're going with. What's your beachhead market? Where are you going to start? What is your beachhead?
Compact fusion.
Pardon?
Compact fusion.
Okay.
Transmission.
Transmission.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yes.
How much battery that run on the cleaning from home?
We're back. We're using 30 18650s in a custom designed pluggable battery that you can pull out and then put a fully charged one back in. It runs for an hour and 15 minutes, enabling you to clean about 5,000 square feet of land on one charge. So typically with one, we're back to my favorite company, where with one machine, you would sell 3 batteries. One that's running in the machine, one that's fully charged and waiting to swap, and one that is charging. This is running up and down cleaning, comes down. The one that's charging is ready, so that goes into the waiting line. The one that's fully charged gets swapped in, and the discharged one gets starts through each other.
If someone wants a robot to build their own, then they will be only session.
No, distributors, you mean, can do that? Yeah, sure. We will work through distributors who will build their own maintenance and spare parts and training.
It's already patented.
Oh, about 7 patents, with many more in queue.
Today, giving us the 101.
It's lugging 14 kilos of weight, using brushes, using squeegee, pumping water, pumping soap, refiltering it. 1 hour and 15 minutes is a long time for a battery. The device is only this big. I mean, today, any robotic device for window cleaning weighs 150 kilos. Huge. Yeah, over 300 pounds. The one you see most often, like on CNN, is a company called Skyline Robotics. Their device is at least 150 kilos. Anyway, so segment your market, find the value. We come back to that. You find your value proposition, validate your customers, design early commercial models, go to market strategy, analyze the market. You gotta. How many of you have truly sat down and analyzed your markets? Okay. Because you will be surprised when you get out in the market and you haven't analyzed it too. You'll get a lot of whiplash. And then you plan to go to market. Like in the lighter tech case, it's all direct sales. There's no distributors, there's no agents. So you got to go to Intel, you got to go to Infineon, you got to go to Fraunhofer, got to go to Wolfspeed and say, yo, we've got something far better than what you're using. Try it out at least one, and if it works, order 50. So, very important. And then have your metrics to measure how you're successful. So for us at Hydrotech, the measurement is how many machines do you sell in a year and how many salespeople are required to sell. Whereas in WCB Robotics' case, it's mostly distributors. And you're giving them a 40% discount on the 30 grand so that they buy for 18 and can sell it for 30.
How big is your distributor? How big is WCB Robotics? How big is WCB Robotics distribution network right now? Do you know?
It's very early. India and the Middle East. So in terms of people who have signed up, the R&D and manufacturing facilities in India. And since they're local, it's much easier to provide service. But anything outside of that whole market, you got to go with distribution.
Yeah.
Versus a lighter tech, everything has to be direct sales. It's $2.5 million machine. You really don't want a distributor mucking with it. Whereas in the case of WCB Robotics, you don't want to be worrying about Dubai having extra bottles of soap and water or having extra strips of abrasive for the brush or another replacement for the squeegee. All of it, these consumables or a filter, all of these will make money, but you need somebody on site to be able to support it. What if someone breaks? Then what do you do? So we are now, US was very high on our list, but it's
Be patient.
50% tariffs. This thing will cost 45,000. India's got hammered. So we park the US, plenty to do in Asia and plenty to do in Europe. And South America, Brazil, for instance, a potential distributor there. Anyway, enough of that. Here's the thing with most of deep tech, it's regulatory and certification. You all know you've got to deal with, who do you have to do? Well, you have to deal with the FDA.
Yeah.
And who else? FDA, but you're a medical device class 2, right?
Yes, class 2.
Class
So
2
we're
medical
doing
device.
510K.
510K. You have a predicate?
Yes, no testing needed for animals or anything like that.
Yeah, so you have a predicate
Yeah.
for the 510K. What are your regulatory challenges?
Yeah, I mean, we work with the DOE, but
Approvals, do you need
It's
safety
not as-
approvals? Do you have?
it's not as crazy as like FDA, right?
You guys?
Yeah.
I'm not really aware of any regulatory
patient.
requirements, strict regulatory requirements.
I mean, no, what's that, PERC? PERC is not involved? And Energy, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission?
That's what I do.
Pardon?
No, not for,
Not,
work is on power and regulating power
Correct.
they're not a firm.
and pipelines, but not,
They wouldn't be first. He might.
You would be involved, with PERC, right?
So yeah,
You will, no, you will.
I'm pretty sure you'll.
Guarantee.
I agree with you. Guaranteed. All right. So, I mean, like robotics, you have to deal with every municipality. So the city of Dubai has to approve this thing climbing up and down private company buildings, but the city has to approve it. The city of Hyderabad has to approve it. The city of Abu Dhabi had to. Riyadh, they're all one by one. You need approvals. You can't just go and say, okay, all of India is going to, no, or all of the US is going to, no. So don't forget the problems. And those who are in medtech immediately know that FDA, or if you want to do Europe, then you've got CE mark. You've never thought of Europe?
We have, it just kind of depends right now. So I think our main focus is just trying to get that clearance from that.
She is the right word. It's not approval, it's clearance. Good job. FDA does not approve, it clears. And there's this whole question of partnerships, like you're partnering with people like Technique or whoever. That's a very good strategy. You'll multiply your market reach, market acceptance without burning through a law. So if you can, go get it. If you can't, like Electrocadet cannot. It's all one-on-one. You got to sell that $2.5 million machine individually. Pilot to scale, we always say, make sure you have good pilots working, and then you can start scaling. Completely different skill set internally needed to be able to manufacture at scale versus manufacturing patents. We pretty much do pilots in a lab. But when you've got, we have, even 100 orders for that robot program. Complete different ball. Just 100 of them. 2 at a time, no problem. 2 at a time. Most founders don't think of that. You need to communicate with your stakeholders, with your investors. Because one, you may need them again and again and again. And 2, you don't want to get them all ticked off because you haven't. You need to let them know. Right now, the way we do it for all my companies is we have a monthly investor update, and then we have a quarterly detailed report. So every month, the investor gets a report, and there's a quick Zoom call. They can dial in, get an update, and then every quarter, there's a detail, like a 2-hour session. And it's good discipline for you, the founders. Otherwise, you get lazy.
more importantly, who owns the company?
Yeah.
It's not you. It is the investors. If they are not happy, they can move on.
Hopefully not. So right now, hopefully, from all that you've listened, you need to be able to do those 6 things. And read them. I won't speak them out. They'll all be in Canvas. Look at number 3. I think that again comes back to really the important stuff. Validate your business assumptions. An idea looking for a problem, or are you really handling? So you got to ask yourself, how will you reach your early adopters? What kind of sales channel will you use? How many pilots can you successfully get? And then,
Oh, hold on, can you back up? Why say especially in energy? Just.
because of CapEx, long R&D
Okay,
cycles,
so big, huge. Okay, gotcha.
huge. I mean, you want to do one Wildcat oil rig, 500 million?
Yeah.
One. So it's not like one software app, 500,000. And the reason also I focused on energy is because this is the energy group here. But I could say deep tech. All deep tech has those challenges. So we've talked about this. This is just here for you to give a summary visually on go-to-market roadmap for any deep tech startup. Talked about is ad nauseum. And now we get ready for next week. So please, homework assignment is here. So look at your go-to-market, identify your market size and path to first revenue. It's going to help you. I'm doing this for me, folks. I mean, I'm the one who has to go sit down and read it, send it. Luan sent me hers last time, only one. Okay. And here's the reading list. You know, as you can see, Scott Blank shows up several times in mine. I think he's very good.
Yes, very good.
Julian Yoskowitz is another good one. Department of Energy market reports. We want to look at EV, you particularly. Think about reading some of the DOE reports on batteries. They're very good. And that's it, folks. Thank you.
Back up.
They will be available on Canvas.
Yeah, it will be on Canvas.
He took a short.
Slide decks will be on Canvas today, right?
Thank you all. Any feedback? Any questions?
Good one. Thanks.
One thing before we all